Good afternoon, everybody. Today I get to talk to a very dear friend of mine and a phenomenal author, writer. She's actually quite a good singer as well. Don't know if we'll talk about any of that, but very excited today for this chat with PJ Ramsay, aka Amanda Robson. Are you requesting under AR Home Designs? Because I have a request. I don't know if you're on that one. Let's hope this. No? Okay, so that wasn't Amanda. Okay, well then, why did you request to come on? Anyway, where is she? Go and get her. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, so, just in the nick of time to save me. Dun 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 dun. Hello? Oh, no, we're having the circle of doom. I don't know if you might have to actually try on the request you. Technical difficulties. Let's see if we can add. Why the circle of doom? There you go.
Sorry, I'm clearly incapable of working Instagram.
It's a learning curve for all of us. A learning curve for all of us. How are you this afternoon? Yes.
Marvellous. How are you?
Excellent. I'm very looking forward to this.
Yes, me too.
So, as I know quite a bit about you, that people who will watch and are joining us might not. So if we start with a basic introduction, and then we'll get into more of your books and your writing and you.
Yes, we can do. I'm sorry, I'm having a few connection issues, so I'm just. Can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Yes, you're coming across perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I am Amanda, aka PJ Ramsay. Yeah, I write books. That's what I do. I started writing when I was really little. It's always been something that I've wanted to do. But never thought that I would be able to because I'm old as the hills, and therefore there was no such thing as self-publishing when I was little. So yeah, just used to write stories for fun. And then about 8 years ago or so, I started writing fan fiction on the internet, and then from there came up with an idea that I wanted to turn into an actual novel idea. And then so wrote it and published it myself on Amazon. And now I've written a second one, which I've also published on Amazon. And currently I'm working on a third in that series and one of a completely different character and idea.
Oh, cool. Okay, so obviously I am Maya's biggest fan. So a little bit of background. I've been very, very lucky to be one of many proofreaders as Amanda goes to the ends of the earth to make sure everything is as perfect as possible. And I got to do the artwork as well for the book. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you because it was so, like, first of all, it was really, really amazing to be asked, by you to actually take care of the visual of your books because it was, and to also be like dying for the next chapter. I was like, okay, chop, hurry up. Where is she going? So I'm very, very excited to develop that more. But if we talk about, okay, so you were little and the fan fiction, what's been, because people online, as lovely as they can be, kind of suck. So when you came into fan fiction, how did you find the reaction from online when it was, if it was negative, how did you deal with sort of understanding that this is just a dick with nothing else to do with their day. Because, you know, there's constructive criticism and then there's just being an internet troll. So
Yeah.
if you've ever had any of those comments, how have you overcome, you know, because I get really sad if I get like one bad, but 10 great. And then I'm like, but one bad. So how does it affect you and your creativity?
Well, so I think a little bit, the reason why I started writing on fan fiction websites anyway was that the reason that I got back into writing again in the first place was that I'd gone through a bit of a downward spiral, I guess I should say. I suffer quite a lot from depression, and I was seeing a therapist for a little while who, when I got talking about the fact that I like to write, encouraged me really strongly to get back into that. And she recommended a book for me called Writing Down the Bones, which is a really good book. But one of the things it said, if you want to be a writer, you need to write every day and you need to get as much feedback on your writing as you possibly can. And because I had been reading fan fiction randomly, just from conversations with my sister and just knowing a few other people, I'd got into it that way. And there's some really good stuff on fan fiction. There's some shockingly bad stuff as well, but there's some really good stuff. And so I thought that would be a really good way to write a lot, but also they're not shy about giving feedback in any way at all. So, so I started writing that, and from there, kind of made friends with a few of the other writers as well. So we formed each other's own little support network. And I'm very much like you, 100 people can say that I'm great, but then one person just has to say, oh yeah, you suck. Like, one of the reviews on my book is rather a boring book, just that, right? And I was like, I was mortified for probably I still am, let's be honest. But yeah, but the guys on the fan fiction websites, there were a few that would just leave shitty comments for no reason at all. But a lot of the feedback that I got from there was really, really constructive, actually. It was even the negative stuff, there was always be like, oh, I don't think that this is quite how this character would behave. And, they're the fans of the show or the film or the book that you're writing about. They know how a character would behave, and it's kind of, it keeps you honest in a way. But I was also really lucky on the fan fiction sites that I've had tons of really good feedback from them, and they are really, if they like your stuff, they're like, oh my god, I'm dying, please write another chapter. They can be really, really good and helpful too as well.
Fangirl.
Oh, yeah. You are a fangirl. You're my
fangirl, and I'm okay. This is about the only time I'm really okay with it. Well, that's good, because I think also, like we talk about, I think, I don't like to throw it around, but I also can, spend a few days being much, much sadder than people think that I am, and kind of prone to that sort of anxiety and depression. And the other day I had some snot-nosed little troll who had something to say, but it wasn't, like, it was so stupid. Like, I won't even repeat it. Like, it doesn't matter. And for me, it sparked a whole week of, like, self-love, and because I'm trying to not let it make me spiral into, like, even our drawing class this week, obviously, Alessandra was a little worse for wear as her birthday marched on. So, we were thinking she might not even join us, but she painted beautiful pots from the week before. But that's what I meant by a self-love picture. It could be something that really makes you feel much, much better. So I'm glad to hear that what you were advised to do and the feedback you got was actually more constructive, and you were able to see a little bit more that you're actually just being a dick. Like, you're not a fan of the show to the point where you want to fight me because you just love this person. Like, you just want to be a troll. Okay, very good. Sorry. And then if we talk about, like, your introduction into the field, obviously being more sort of a way for you to, do you feel that it has helped when you write all the time in your life as to when you don't?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with, obviously, with writing as with any kind of, like, creativity is that you need to have your muse with you, like, you need that inspiration to do it. You can do it without, and you should do it without. Even when you're not feeling it, you should still sit down at your desk and write something, even if it's sort of crap, it's like exercising your muscles, right? So that's what you should do. But it's not as enjoyable as it is when you got that muse in your brain and it's pouring out of you like it needs to come out. So I found it really cathartic when I got back into it again, and when I was doing it, I was working out a lot of stuff And it's funny, when I was writing the first novel, it just, and when people read it as well, they say to me that the main character is just you, basically. It's like you as a Latina. That's what it is. It's just the way that she thinks and the way that she speaks a lot of the time is very much the same kind of self-doubt, sort of self-destructive as well, a lot of what she does. It's definitely me, and I learned a lot about the way that I deal with things from writing about her.
Yeah,
I learned what a dickish way to deal with things that is as well. Like, because I know it's like sometimes when I just get into a mood about something, or something upsets me, or I can't deal with something, and I just start drinking, and then that's fine, we'll deal with that tomorrow as well as whatever. And everybody around me is like, what are you doing? Just stop it. Put the bottle down. And just like, oh, no, I'll be fine. And yeah, I'm not. And it annoys everybody around me. It hurts myself. And that's kind of what comes through in the book as well. That kind of, so I do know, like, from her, it's quite obvious that I know, but it also, she knows to a certain extent in the book. And just, it's one of those things, it's a crutch that people use, and she uses it as much as I do, I think.
But I also love how, to be fair, because you are quite self-deprecating, and I did have, because I obviously known you for many years, I understood, what you were going to be doing and that you were writing this book. And I love how much we associate her with you, because you often try to associate yourself with weakness when it comes to being complimentary towards yourself, which none of us like, but she does it, so we're like, whatever. But she's quite funny, and that's the problem. Like, she is quite funny. But what's been amazing to see is how you made, like, Maya's really, really strong. Even though she knows that she's very self-destructive, she really, and at the core of you is exactly the same as Maya. Like, for the people that you love, there isn't anything that you won't do. I know. There's nothing that you won't do if it's for the right reason and somebody that you have found a space in your heart. Amanda might go to jail for you, you know what I mean? If you're right in there and it's the truth, then she's going to jail for you. But I love that Maya wasn't, like, her weakness is something like, it's like your weakness. It's just that little bit of self-belief and a little bit of, like, too much liquor sometimes. You know what I mean? It's not the biggest problem in the world. As long as it's not for breakfast, we're okay. Not anymore. Yeah, so that's been really interesting to see how you created the mirror between your life and the character, but the lives couldn't be further apart. Like, you're not running around jungles. You run around spreadsheets and dominate that like a badass. But yeah, jungles eventually, Amanda, eventually. Yeah, so that mirror has been quite cool. And then when you talk about how cathartic it was, I think it's the same thing with, like, everyone talks about doing a page a day as an artist. It's so easy to sit there and say it, but whoa. Sometimes I just have to, I have to actually not do it. So I'm like, and all I need to do is draw a doodle, draw a stupid little doodle on a page anywhere. I have pages everywhere, and I still find it really hard. And there'll be some days where it's 11 at night and Shan and I are busy painting the whole world. It's very strange how that creativity works, but yeah, I feel your pain when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And writing with, because I use Google Docs to write, and whenever I go in there, it's kind of, it shows you all the documents that you've got and the last time you went into them. So it's like a little judgy finger, have you really been in here recently enough? Hello. I'm getting further down the list of things. So yeah, it's that's not great. But I think when we went into lockdown as well, I thought, this is it. Can get the book finished. It'll be great. And yeah, I've written once, I think, but I am doing research for the new one, because I'm starting to write about a new character as well, who is a detective in London. So kind of to do a bit of research about that, I did a criminology course online, so that was really interesting, and and kind of something I've been doing to keep myself busy, or procrastinate, some might say, from instead of actually getting the writing done. I've been learning how to be a criminologist, so that's good.
That's awesome.
But
And
yeah,
not
I've got.
surprising though. You do research to the ends of the earth for your books, so.
Well, I like it. That's part of what I like about
No,
writing
she
is
really
you get to listen to. Yeah, you get to, your character will say something and you'll think, oh, should she really be saying this here? Let me have a look into it, and then you get sucked into this whole world, and then you come up with like 17 new ideas, and you start writing them down and get distracted from where you were before. Yeah, it's great. I love the research side.
And obviously we talk about like between us when we have sort of these breaks in our sort of careers, if you say, like you talked about having times where you haven't been able to write. Do you feel like when you're being incredibly hard on yourself, it actually helps you with those like Google Docs deadlines? Or like how do you, because I know I need a team. Like I'm the most useless on my own. I need someone to make happy, and I need a team around me to propel my creativity. So how do you find ways around that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that you were one of my little army of proofreaders, and that was kind of helpful in the first book and in the second book, to a certain extent as well. Being able to have people who are excited to read the next chapter and sending me messages like, give me the chapter and stuff. And so that is really good. And to hear the feedback as well. I know on the first one, I used some of the guys from the fan fiction site to help me. And one of them, this French lady, she was really harsh with her criticism, like really like blunt to the point, you know? And she's like, you could just like read my chapter and then sit back and say, fan fiction, get rid of it. Like, you know, why would you say this? This is proper fan fiction. You're not writing fan fiction anymore. Get over it. And I'm like, ah. And then I was like, oh no, actually, yeah, you're right. She can't behave like that. She's a real person, not a character in a fan fiction. So, yeah, so that was helpful. In terms of the deadlines and stuff, with the first book, I didn't give myself a deadline at all. It was just, you know, I wanted to get it done by my birthday, which was great. But I had it was a long time until my birthday. You know, it was like over a year, I think, and it just kind of fell out of me. I think the first book, it was just yeah, it was really easy to write a lot of it. Going back and doing the editing, not so much, and it's never good to go back and read what you've written, because you are your own worst critic basically. So but yeah, and that was great. And then I managed to get it all done for my birthday. You came up to visit, bought me a cookie cake. That was fantastic. And it all went really well. But then the biggest issue then came with the second book, because I then gave myself a deadline to publish the next one on my next birthday, which then put a lot of pressure. And one of the best bits of my writing, and possibly what contributed to one of my worst bits, came at the same time, which was that I got my first real review. So a website called the lesbianreview.com decided that they really liked my book and they wanted to do a review of it. And it was an amazing review, because they really liked it. They weren't, you know, they pointed out bits that weren't so good as well or whatever, but then what she was saying in the review just proved to me that she really understood what I was trying to do with the book, which was, I didn't want to write a book about a lesbian, you know, and I didn't want to write a lesbian novel, because when you think of your lesbian novel, they're very much like chick lit, you know, they're like, you know, girl meets girl, there's some kind of misunderstanding, then they hate each other, and then it all gets sorted out and they fall in love, and have sex in the middle somewhere really inappropriate. You know, that's kind of, they're very formulaic, whereas I didn't want to write that book. I wanted to write a book which was about a woman who was an archaeologist who was a lesbian, you know, not a lesbian archaeologist. To the point that in the review they had to put at the top, this doesn't have any sex in it, you know, because that's kind of, because, you know, if a lesbian's reading a lesbian novel and they're like, where is this sex? What's happening? They'll be outraged, you know. So there was that. But then also when she wrote the review, she messaged me on Twitter to find out if there was a follow-up, and I at the time didn't know that she was reviewing my thing, so I just said, yeah, it's coming out next September. So she put that in the review. So then I've got like I've got a proper deadline, because it's not just you guys that I've told, like my friends, oh yeah, I'm gonna have the next one done by September. There's it's published there on the internet, and there's a lot of people buying it at that stage as well off the back of the review. And kind of, yeah, I don't know whether they all loved it and were like desperately waiting for the next one to come out. But in my head, it was like, well, what if they are? Like, what am I doing? And then it kind of, yeah, around summer, it all started to go a bit wrong, and I took a wrong turn in the book, and after it starting really easy, and again, just like coming out, the title popping up like this, like random words and thoughts that she was going to have, and yeah, it was all going really well, and then it just all started to go wrong. And one of my friends was helping me by reading it up in Manchester, and I felt that it wasn't going right, and she was like, let's go out and have a coffee. And so we sat, and then she kind of told me what she thought of it, and she told me very nicely, but it was definitely, this isn't good. It's not as good as your first one. You can do a lot better. I think you need to have a serious look at it. And just from there, I was already, because of what happens in the first book, she's kind of in a very bad place in the second one, and it was very difficult to write. And because I identified so strongly with the character, I was very much in that dark place with her. And just then the addition of this and the pressure that I put on myself to get it finished and to make it good and to live up to what I built with the first one just took me really down, and I had to take myself off it for a while. And yeah, because I had a bit of a relapse in terms of depression and stuff, so I had to really take myself off it. And yeah, about 6 months I think I took off from writing, and then only really got back into it because my mom, when I asked her what she wanted for Christmas, she's like, oh, I'd really like PJ Ramsay's second novel. And I was like, oh, right, now I'm going to finish it. So I just picked myself up and sat back down and took a good, long, hard look at what I'd written and what my friend had said, and kind of, deconstructed it a little bit, and then started to put it back together. And I'm proud of the second book. It's very divisive. I think a lot of people say that they prefer it to the first one, and then a lot of people don't really say anything, which to me, I think they don't like it. And I think possibly the fact that she goes on such a dark journey and her self-destructiveness really shines through in the second one is maybe what a lot of people don't like about it so much. But yeah, I'm proud of it. And
it's hard to watch Maya because you do fall in love with her, because even I love how much of the banter between the characters, even though, okay, I know that's actually what Sasha said to this person, or you actually said, or even what I said is snuck in, like I see all the parts of how you've taken everyone but formulated these whole characters. So it's really, really hard, I think, like you say, when it's fan fiction, you fall in love, and it's like, I know what I want for Maya. You don't know, Amanda. I know what's best for her. And it's like, it becomes quite like overwhelming, but it was a much, much darker time. And I suppose as your friend on the side, it's hard to be objective because it was a really tough time. And, when something isn't going the way that you want it to go creatively, that's, sorry, people don't realize it's like your whole soul just there, like openly ready for judgment. Like, that someone's going to have something to say, and you, like, that's really incredible in the first place. Like, it's amazing that you had that. Like, I didn't realize they'd put your deadline in the review. That's not the kind of pressure I need. Like, I need deadlines with Shan, not internet deadlines. Oh my God. Hectic.
Yeah.
It was a bit, sorry?
Yeah, no, it was just a bit of extra pressure that maybe I didn't need. But on the whole, yeah, I mean, like, I do like to know when I need to have something done by, and sometimes a deadline is a good thing. But I think, especially when it comes to writing and stuff like that, it's not something that I do for my living. I haven't got, like, publishers waiting on me and da-da-da. So I think having a deadline is a good thing, but I think you just need to take a bit of the pressure off yourself by saying, right, we're going to aim for this, but if it's not done by then, it isn't the end of the world. This is, at the end of the day, it's a self-published book. It's my work. It's something that I'm really proud of doing. And I don't need to rush it. I haven't got like 100 million fans queuing up to buy my book when it comes out the next day. I've got people there that want to read it, that enjoy reading it, yes, but they're not. It's not like, I'm not Karen Slaughter or Margaret Atwood yet. I shall
Yeah.
be, I'm sure. But yeah, that's it. I just need to take a bit of time, and I think with stuff like this, yeah, you need to give yourself a bit of a break sometimes, and definitely not put something out that's subpar, because that's not going to make you feel great about yourself.
No, definitely not. But I think it's still important, like you say, is still, you know, go and put the stuff out, but realize like when you need 6 months off, even if, and when, sorry, not if, 100 million people are waiting for your next book, to make sure that you are in a safe space where you actually enjoy the writing of it, because at the end of the day, it's not really, it's not really healthy, that environment. Like I always have this this discussion with people about, you know, when you're in a really dark place, a lot of painters and that seem to produce a lot of their better, quote unquote, pieces. But I just feel like in their moments of frustration and anger, they feel the most honest. And that sort of tends to shine through a little bit more. But it is really unhealthy to stay in a dark place. You know, like when you're something deep and dark, like you were saying, it's kind of hard to not let your life slip when Maya's life is slipping, because you really are so connected to what you're going through. So
absolutely. But I think, I mean, I don't think it's an accident that I haven't made that much headway with my writing sort of recently, because, you know, I met Alessandra and have been really happy recently. So, I think it's quite difficult to tap into that creativity for me when I'm happy. It's much easier when I'm kind of like down and want to work stuff through, you know?
But we've also been sort of shown these really tragic artists, these really, you know, we associate like you've got to go through this epic trauma to produce anything beautiful. And while I don't deny beautiful things come from trauma and that it's a beautiful thing that can happen, I just want people to be able to sort of go into that space, create, and then come back out of it. You know what I mean? Like trying to practice ways to delve into that energy. Because like you say, it's really hard if you want to sit down at 8 o'clock and be creative until 4:30.
Yeah, no, that is really hard.
Like, if you can genuinely do that, that's incredible. If you can sit at your desk at 8, create your ass off all day until 4:30, clock out, and you're amazing. It just doesn't work like that, like 98% of the rest of us, you know?
Absolutely. I think, you just need to, I do think there is something to be said for people who can train themselves, like, you know, people who will write novels by getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, writing for 2 hours, and then going to work, doing a full day of work, coming home, looking after the kids, going to bed, doing the same thing the next day, and that's great. I cannot. I think maybe if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can write for a couple of hours, then like that used to happen to me quite a lot, especially when I was writing the first one. Like I would just wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, I've got to do this, and then just sit and write, and then next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I've got to get up and go to work, and I'm like, but you know, it's that. I think you need to just find a balance. I think if it was a full-time job, if I was lucky enough to have this as my career, I think then, you know, then you would have to sit at your desk all day and just try and tap into that creativity. And I think that's why they say you should write every day and you should train yourself, because you never know
but I think
when.
Also, No, sorry. Carry on after you.
No. You never know when. When is it going to hit? So if you're there and you're ready and you're going, then I guess that makes it a little bit easier.
But then I think also what's been amazing for me is during this pandemic is how I really thought my day had to be structured, and getting out of that thought process has actually made much more space for creativity. Like I used to be up every morning, 5 o'clock, get to work, come home, try to do something in the evenings or the weekends. And now that I'm at home, like I wake up at a decent-ish hour, like 7. Like that's super late for someone who's up at 5, you know? And to be fair, now that I know I have control of my own day, I get so much more stuff done, but in a very odd order. So even the oddness of the order now, I'm just like, okay, but I'm being really productive, but it doesn't look like it. I'm in the hammock, lying in my garden, but I've edited like 4 videos and I've emailed a bunch of people from, like, it's just about how you make the space that you want to be in, and I really would love to do this full time, you know, just prepare for interviews, build my gallery and everyone and art and loveliness. But yeah, it's the discipline behind it's really important. But I think the not having this structure like I've been taught my whole working life has been a lot easier for me. I don't know what it will look like when I have to go back to it. I'm a bit nervous because it didn't really work for me before, but now I'm finding like really a rhythm with the things that I want to get done, and the discipline of creativity sucks.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Okay, so yeah, me too. Don't tell anyone. But if we talk about, I think you sort of touched on these, but they might not be, but your proudest moments so far in your career.
Yeah, so the proudest moment was getting that review. So it was, just having somebody who hadn't met me, who'd never understood my thought process behind the book and what I wanted to achieve with it, just reading it, liking it, and publishing a review which basically spelled out what it was that I wanted to do, which was to write a book, like I say, about somebody who was this archaeologist, this exciting person who happened to be a lesbian, and the fact that she also brought on the subject of the way that the reviews are normally set out on this website is you have the main character and then you have the love interest, and it says a bit about both of them, and then it tells you sort of a bit of a summary of the plot, and then it goes on to kind of give it an excerpt from it and stuff like that. And in my review, they put the main character and then they put her love interest and then they put Claudia, who's the best friend, and she wrote a bit about Claudia, and she said, I have to include Claudia in this because anybody who can put up with Maya's bitching for the whole thing obviously deserves to have something written about them, which I loved. And I showed it to my friend Sasha, who was the inspiration for the character. But Claudia's kind of a mix of my friend Sasha, Faye, and my sister. She's like this triumvirate, but a lot of her personality comes from Sasha, and Sasha loved it and was really amused. But then also what they put in the review is, because this isn't really a story about Maya and Rebecca, who's the love interest, it's more of a story about the relationship between Maya and her best friend, which I loved, and it actually made me like well up a little bit, because I was like, yes, this is what I want to write. Why does it always have to be about, you know, the main character and her love interest? Why the relationship that you have with your friends is so important, and there are not so many books in the world, I think, that are written about that, as there should be. I mean, there are some great ones, obviously.
But you cannot mention Maya without Claudia. And for the woman to understand that on a fundamental level means she's genuinely, because, like, I just see Sasha on the page. Every time there's a witty response to Maya's dickhead behavior, there's Claudia, da, da, da. And it's brilliant because, like, even Tom, I mean, we all joke about, like, but you gave him a little something, but it's also so refreshing that, like, shut up, Tom. Who cares? Like, there's females running this shit. And I really enjoy that it's complicated, and it's almost exactly the same as I sort of get shoved down my throat all the time with, you know, a boy, but it's just now it's a chick. I'm like, yes. Finally, like, this woman is angry and aggressive and doesn't give a fuck.
I was a little bit concerned when I realized.
When you realized? Oh no, you cut off after you said I was a bit concerned after I realized.
Sorry. It keeps breaking up. I never know when you're speaking and when you're not. I don't know if it's my end or yours.
Oh no.
So yeah, I have missed what you just, that question.
Oh shit. No, I've just missed it. I'm like, what's happening?
Exactly.
Oh no, what the hell are we talking about? I think it was going to be good.
Yeah, no, it was good. You were talking about Tom and about how the fact that he's kind of in there and I give him
yes.
thing.
Yes,
then,
so it's so nice to see a female who is kind of angry, doesn't give a fuck about smiling and being all like, hi, I'm a female and we can do it. Like, I'm just so, I just love that she's such a aggressive, angry, like doesn't give a shit. And she really, you know, she doesn't take any, I think sometimes her hot-headedness, you know, leads her into these lovely Maya situations. But yeah, I find it great that there's a female that I can read about, and it isn't about her being a lesbian. And the Rebecca stuff, like, I'm still enthralled in it. I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen? And then I'm a bit mad at you, and then I'm okay about it. And it's a roller coaster. I like it. But the main point is her and Claudia. And I think that's what is beautiful. Your friends are there before and after your relationships. Sometimes they're not there during, you know what I mean? But they're really there for you. And I think celebrating that is such a phenomenal undertone to have to that collection of work, because celebrating a strong feminine relationship where they just build each other up and it's nothing but just respectful. It's really beautiful to watch. It's very, very cool. And then now on the back of your proudest moment, Amanda, PJ Ramsay. Oh, see, I can't do this. I'm useless. Couldn't tell it yesterday. We'll get better at this, okay, PJ Ramsay. And then now if we talk about your scariest moments, which I think is the same moment you spoke about before, maybe in a bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was riding high off the first one and then kind of all came crashing down on the second one. So yeah, it was that. There was really sad kind of going through that again. And it's also like, I'm not always that comfortable like talking about the depression stuff, because I find it is really difficult to talk about. But it's for me the biggest thing with it is it's the fear that you can feel it. Like, for anybody who's had depression, it's the first time you go through it, it's awful, it's terrifying, and you don't know what's wrong, and you just feel really dark, and you know, like, that's really bad. But then I think for me it's worse when it comes back, because you know how you're going to feel, and you can feel it coming. It's like a physical sensation. You can feel that dread approaching. So it's that fear. Like, when I do talk about it, like when I've talked about it to Alessandra and stuff, I kind of equate it with that feeling like you're about to fall off a cliff. And I said to it's really frightening to go through. So yeah, that was the scariest moment, I think, when I kind of felt a little bit like I'd done it to myself as well, because of what I'd put into the book and what I was sharing with her, and then the concern about the deadline as well. So that was my scariest.
Do you think that going through that scariest time, how do I formulate this question correctly? You know, grammar is quite important when you're talking to a writer.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've been just so scariest moment. What has it done for you? There was something specific in what you just said, and my memory's just left. It's walked right out the door there. Okay, anyway, scariest moment was that. Now, how do you feel? No, I'm just going to stop trying to search for that question. It's gone out of my brain. It's fine. So, if we talk...
It helped a lot, because it when I started to get back over it again, it made me feel a bit stronger, because it was like, when I then came back to the book, it kind of helped me a bit, because it was like, I've got through it, and I can use it now to get her through it, you know, so the character. So then I kind of used it a little bit, and the end of the second book, to be fair, it's quite low. And somebody who read it was like to me, right now, you need to write that third one quickly, because you can't just leave her here, you know. So it's yeah.
Do you have to?
Yeah. So I haven't, and I apologise. But I'm just trying to work out, because it's like, after having gone through all of that in the second book, I then don't want to just rush the third one, you know.
Yes.
So
thank you. I didn't even need to be here for that section. See how she recovered that beautifully, everyone. That was very, very good. So yeah, it was basically to say, like, how is it that now you're able to, you know, that anxiety, like you talk about the dread of sensing what's going to happen, and then anxiety comes in, and then it's depression as well as that. It's a really, really horrible feeling. but I think you covered my answer beautifully in that, saying you can now help her to get out of. Very good.
So that's what I'm
thanks.
trying to do with the third one. Yeah, just trying to deal with it now. Like, how do you show her coming out the other side, and how is she rebuilding everything that she's destroyed in the last book? So yeah, so that's what I'm working on now, trying to get her back to the happy. But
good. And I'm very excited because you talked about developing a new character, a detective, which I've had a snippet of. Oh no, I'm excited. And I think, how has that been for you, being able to not maybe break away from Maya? Sounds a bit dramatic, but it is very heavy for you. So how is that process of the new character and the new sort of almost genre as well of writing? It's going to be more thriller, criminal, mystery stuff, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for me because I think because Maya was so much of me, and the new character isn't, and I'm not sure about that. Like, when I'm writing her, I'm kind of, it's more like I'm writing about somebody else than Maya was, which sounds weird because, you know, Maya is a Puerto Rican living in New York, you know, and she's an archaeologist. So that's not me. Physically, definitely that's not me. I don't have any of the sort of issues that she had growing up. Like, you know, my father, thankfully, is still with us. That's not something that happened to me. And also, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, I'm white and I haven't had to deal with the discrimination that she has had to deal with as a Puerto Rican growing up in New York. You know, I can, as an outsider, look in on that and know from watching documentaries, from reading books about the things that people go through every day when they're discriminated against. I know discrimination on grounds of my sexuality, but I'll never have to experience, you know, based on my ethnicity, you know, because that's just the way it is. And I feel very fortunate about that. It was also quite difficult for me to write that character because I didn't want to be writing like an approximation of a Puerto Rican. I wanted it to be as authentic as I could make it. And I did, you know, think long and hard about whether I should make my main character Hispanic when I can't know what she's been through. But then I thought, well, people write books about serial killers and hopefully they are not serial killers. You know, so you have to put yourself in the headspace of whoever you're writing about or whoever you're playing in film or TV or on the stage. You know, you have to do this. People do this all the time. And yeah, while it's right to worry about the authenticity of the character, you can't stop yourself from doing that just because it's not something you'll ever fully experience, right?
No, 100%.
So
I think, we talk about this a little bit with like, where is cultural appreciation and where is appropriation? And I never feel as if you've put Maya in some kind of stereotypical sort of caricature of what a Puerto Rican person has been told to sort of be like. I don't feel that from sort of when I'm reading it. It is Maya, she happens to be Hispanic. Again, she's a woman and happens to have these different facets. So I think in the way that you've approached it and gone about it, there is obviously that worry because you don't want people to think that you are one of these white privileged snowflakes who thinks that they can assimilate life that they've no idea about. But you also, you know, you go so far to do the research on the, you know, you're as factual as possible, but still, you know, you're documenting your own life as well. But to give this woman all these different facets, I think it's stuff that is around us all the time in society, and you haven't done it disrespectfully by any means. So I think it's interesting when a culture excites you and you get to research more about it and you draw a closeness to that culture. I think it's important to give that culture the credit it deserves, but you take us on these journeys that just kind of highlight the spaces, the people around there. You know, it's not done in any kind of whitewashing or anything like that. So I think you've done a really good job to appreciate her culture and, you know, her heritage. I think you captured her brilliantly. Very, very good. So now we know that you're working on these two things. So my favorite question is, what is the dream, PJ Ramsay? No government, no money limitations. You can have whatever you want. What is the absolute dream?
My dream, and anybody who's watching
He
this
was writing, yeah.
Onto the guys at Netflix, right? This is it. I would like Netflix to approach me and say, we really want to create a TV series based on this character that you created. That would be the dream. And we want you to write it. And here's millions of pounds. Go buy yourself a yacht. Yeah, that would be,
we'll sell it for you.
That's the dream. That's what I would like. I'm not, like, obviously everybody would like to have enough money just to be able to sail off around the world and, you know, write books or whatever they want to do with their life. I'm not that bothered about money particularly in any way, but I would like to spend my life writing. I would like to not have to go to work and just sit at home or on a yacht or on a beach, you know, and write stories and stuff. When I was writing the first one, me and Sasha and our friend Terry went to the United States to do like a trip around California and stuff. And I actually wrote some of the book sitting in the back seat of this like SUV that we had, like, and that was fantastic. Like driving through the desert. Oh, I wasn't driving at the time, obviously. Sasha was and I'm sitting in the back writing a book. It was fantastic. And I was like, why can't this be my life? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I would just love to do that. And yeah, sitting on a beach in San Diego and, you know, writing chapter 13. It would be great. That's the dream. I would just like to be able to spend my life writing.
Very good. I can get on board with that. Go and be a millionaire. Excellent.
Yeah, well, that would be, you know, an added bonus, I think. Yeah.
Good. But thank you so much for opening up and talking with us a little bit about how your creativity and stuff does genuinely affect you, because I feel like the more I talk to different artists and photographers and authors, like when it comes to creativity, it's really, really tough because you're kind of alone, even though, you know, you can call people and ask them to look over your things or read stuff. But the final decision of the outcome of your work sits with you. And it's a lot of pressure. And especially when it also is just a hobby that you love, that you're not sure if it will become something that you can live from and you dream to do it. It's incredibly hard. So thank you for sharing the parts of your journey, because I think it's very honest and it's very open of you. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Cool. And then obviously I know how to get hold of you, but if you don't mind to just let everyone know where they can go and get the books from, how they can contact you, etc., etc.
Yeah, so the books are available on Amazon, obviously under the name PJ Ramsay. There are 2 of them currently. Hopefully there will be more soon. If you want to contact me, I'm on Twitter, which, yeah, is at PJ Ramsay. I can post the stuff on your page or whatever. And then also on Instagram, I do have... So on Instagram, I'm not hugely on there a lot, and the Instagram account that I set up is under Maya's name, and it was just kind of something that me and Sasha actually came up with as kind of a jokey thing to do, which would be like, because I like to travel, I like to go to places, and I particularly like to look at, you know, ruins and old castles and things, as you will remember, Rickylee. And yeah, so I thought when I started like taking lots of photographs of things obviously that are going, I thought it'd be really cool just to have like Maya's travel page, which is what this is set up on. So when you go on there, it's mainly just pictures of old architectural ruins and things and exciting stuff like that. But feel free to contact me on there.
But what they'll have to do is you'll have to read the books, so the Instagram makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Hello, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amanda and I, between ourselves today, will figure out how I can post some links for you guys to purchase the book. I know you dropped the price during the pandemic, so lots of people can afford to have it, and something for you guys to do in our last sort of few days off before the government does something stupid. I don't know, opens the country. But, you know,
you must go and have a read of these books, guys. She's a phenomenal character, and she takes you on such a journey with her. And I've been so in it, like, really no smoke up your bum. Love you lots, but it was a genuine rage on the text to get the next chapter. Like, I almost felt insulted that you hadn't given me a whole book, because it's like, it's so amazing to be a part of your process. But then I was like, who's Colin's sick? I don't care. It's not my problem. So it got a little intense, but I'm so proud of what you did, because I mean, you wrote 2 books. And the amount of fan fiction you've written is probably a 3rd or 4th book as well, Amanda. So it's very, very cool what you've done. And I'm just sort of can't wait in the right time for Maya. But yeah, if you guys can bear with me till this afternoon, I'll hopefully get some links up so you can purchase the book. Because you need both of them. Because obviously you don't want to get the first one. You're annoyed you don't have the second book, guys. But yeah, so if you guys have any questions for Amanda, please let me know. I can forward them on, or straight onto her Instagram page. Also Twitter, like she said. And yeah, I think, the last thing I wanted to ask you, because obviously I know the characters and I'm going to get a little rude. Who's your favorite side, like little non-Claudia, non-Rebecca? Like, who's getting your favorite sidekick character? I know who mine is, but...
In the books, my favourite to write is Elaine. Who's, she's like Maya's boss, who's like a proper sarcastic bitch, basically. And she's actually based on another one of my friends. The one actually gave me the feedback about the second book as well, but she did it in a nicer way than Elaine would do. And she knows the characters from her as well. She was my manager when I used to run a bar on Tip Street in Manchester, and if I'd ever come in and be hungover, just a little bit hungover, and she would know straight away, and she just used to look at me and go, "Suffer," right? And my hangover would instantly get far, far worse, and I'd go through hell. I'd be like, "I really want to go home." No, this is your fault. You get up, and just make my day terrible, basically, to teach me a lesson. So, yeah, she's my favourite one to write, because I just think, a lot of the time I'll write things that are so, like, just, not that, and then think, I can't put that in. I can't put that in the book, and I have to tone it down a little bit. So it's a great way just to...
And then Elaine said... Oh, okay, excellent. Sorry, I should have factored that in a more professional manner, but I've lost all control during this. You had to pull me right back in the middle there. I mean, I didn't even know where I was going. Thank God you knew what I was trying to say. So, yeah, thanks for pulling through with us, guys, watching. And thank you, Amanda. This has been such a joy. PJ Ramsay, too nasty.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Just go and buy the book, guys, and we'll upload this onto IGTV and then onto our YouTube channel. And then we'll tag all the people. Yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, and you. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.